If you use an AIU to operate your switches, you can automate the operation of a yard, for example, by setting up routes in the remote. Then, if you need to get to track 3 in the yard, for example, you just select the route named track 3 and push the button. All the switches that have to throw to line the yard lead for track 3 will throw. Now this requires some careful planning ahead of time before you jump in and start programming your yard lead or any other route for that matter. The general procedure is to connect all your switches to the AIU and then add them to the remote, giving them names that make sense to you. You don't have to have all the switches in every remote. If you have a big yard and you're going to set up a route operation, I would suggest that you choose one remote to be the yard remote, and then enter all the yard switches into it, but you don't put any of the mainline switches in it. Then when your yard master gets set to go to work, he'll have a remote all set up for him to use with access to everything he needs to run his yard without the complication of having other switches in the remote that he's not going to operate. In planning a route, you should make a pencil diagram first of your yard lead. Then you can determine which way each switch has to be thrown to line up for each track in the yard. Then when you start to set the switches into the remote, you'll have a good plan of action. The procedure for adding a route is similar to adding an engine. Press Menu, scroll to Advanced, press the wheel, scroll to Route Setup, press Create Route, and now this screen should look familiar to you. Use it to give the route a name, just as you named an engine. After you have entered and saved the name, you'll see a list of all the switches you've set into this remote. Now here's where your pencil drawing is going to come in very handy. Use it to help you select the switches that need to be thrown for track 1. There may be only 1 or 2, or there might be a half dozen or more. You select the switches the same way you select other menu items by scrolling to the switch you want. When you do that, you'll see this display on soft keys 1 and 2. The straight arrow indicates the switch should be lined straight. The curved arrow shows that the switch should be lined to the diverging route. Press the arrow for the switch you're working on. If you have to set another switch, simply scroll to it, press the right arrow key to set it the way you want it to throw, and when you're done with all the switches in this route, press the button below the word Done, and the route is saved. Once you have all the routes set up, you get to them by pressing the SW button. You'll see all the switches and all your routes. Switches and routes show up differently in the list. Switches will have these 2 arrows on the S4 and S5 keys, so you can throw them either way. Routes, however, show up like this, and you simply press the ACT button to activate that route. Just scroll to the route you want and press the button. The various relays in the AIU will engage to set the switches the way you programmed them. You can also set up what MTH calls scenes. Scenes are set up just like routes, except that scenes use the various accessories connected to the AIU to create the scene. With a little planning and a lot of imagination, you can set up your DCS so that one button does this.